Hey everybody, welcome to Outlier On Air, the podcast where we interview founders, disruptors, and mavens. As always, I'm your host, Ever Gonzalez. On today's episode, we have Samantha Parker. She is the co-founder of Badassery Magazine and the co-host of Badassery Podcast. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. We've been trying to do this for a little while now, right? I feel like it's been at least a month and a half where we've tried to schedule something happens, and then it kind of falls through. But now you're here live in studio, and so we're very, very excited.
Yeah, this is fun to be in an actual podcast studio.
So to work. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. One of the things that I wanted to bring up before we kind of paint the picture of who you are, where you come from, you saved my life a little bit this past May when we had one of our events. Somebody dropped out one of our workshops, and I think you only had like a week's notice or something like that. Maybe not even that. Called you up and said, "Hey, do you want to do you have enough time to put something together?" And you were like, "Absolutely." And so, of course, you saved my bacon. Your workshop was one of our one of the ones that the people like the most. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for asking me, and that's really good to hear too.
Yeah, they glowing reviews, obviously, and so we want to have you back to many, many more of our events coming up. So anyway, for our audience, let's paint the picture of who you are, what you do.
Okay, so do you want me to take that? So I wear a lot of hats, but really, I always tell people, I'm like, my name's Samantha Parker, but I'm very multidimensional. But I am one of the co-founders of Badassery Magazine, and then we do have the Badassery Podcast. We always say Badassery Magazine is way more than just a magazine. The magazine is a small little portion of what we do. Yes, we actually do put out a digital magazine every month, but really we're in the business of building experiences and communities. So really, our whole focus is to bring, people together, and particularly our audience is female entrepreneurs. So we try and bring them together in a space where they can collaborate and grow. So that's kind of like a nutshell of what I do, in the online world, and then of course in person as well.
Sure, we're going to dissect all of it, right? From the podcast to the magazine, why you started, why only female, why female focused, all that stuff. You're here in Southern Utah, St. George specifically, smaller community, right? You have global ambitions. Why St. George? Why now?
So I've lived in St. George for about 5 years. I grew up in Provo, which is central Utah. Well, it's more northern, and then I lived in Salt Lake for 10 years, and I've never liked Salt Lake, and we were always just kind of called down here. And once you get the St. George bug,
for sure.
You're just here, and I'm now I can never experience winter again.
I thought I was going to be here for a couple years and then move out, and 11 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah, so we've been here for 5 years, almost 6 years, and I feel like just kind of my home for now. I don't think it'll be my forever home, but I've really enjoyed St. George. I'm an outdoorsy person, so this environment has been perfect.
Good. And so can you do business out of St. George effectively? I mean, if you were in LA, if you were in New York, would it matter?
I think it would matter, but the really great thing about this era that we're living in, we're very lucky. So I can get on Facebook and I can reach billions of people, and so that's kind of how we've grown our network. I work out of my office at home, it's also the guest room. Mm-hmm. I've just got my computers in there, and I just work straight out of my house. And it's I feel like I'm connected everywhere because we do have a global audience.
It's funny. We've talked about this offline a little bit. Badassery Magazine, Badassery Podcast. Obviously, you're calling on women to kind of be empowered, be themselves, right? And I'll let you explain that here in just a sec. But there's a lot of fakeness going around, too, where it's almost like this fake confidence. Hey, I'm the cool chick. I'm the badass girl, whatever, all that stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that for the most part, because I think you have to fake it till you make it sometimes. But you walk into this room and to our event with this kind of quiet confidence almost, right? Where it's obvious that you know who you are, where you're going, what you're doing. What about those women or entrepreneurs in general that are still faking it, right? I mean, it's tough. Any advice, anything that you can tell them? You've obviously had an incredible journey. We're going to get into that here in just a sec, but you feel like you're in a good place, in a place that you are comfortable in. What about those that aren't there yet?
Well, I mean, I do have my moments. Like just this morning, I had a little meltdown at the gym and I was
Nice.
going to leave, I was like, oh my gosh, like those girls over there look so good. And I'm like, dripping buckets. And
Yeah.
so I feel like confidence is something that I work on every single day in
Still?
multiple moments.
Really?
Yeah. Just like coming into my car, I was like, okay, you've got this, exactly. You always know what to say. Like I really like pep talk myself 24/7 because, I'm 33 years old and I feel like I spent the first 30 years of my life completely ruining my mindset and really had such a poor outlook of myself. And I've spent the last 3 years trying to reprogram my brain.
Sure.
So, it's a journey that'll never end. One of my really close friends and my cousin, she told me once, like, mindset is like a bath that you have to take every single day because every single day you get dirty. So I still work on it every single day. And I just have to tell myself, like, I'm Samantha Parker. Like, I do so much mindset work. I do lots of journaling. I do all kinds of things to really, like, put myself in the position of confidence. But I also kind of stopped caring what other people thought, too.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we stop that, it feels like doors open up. Right? I'm not too worried about, and for the longest time, I personally used to worry about what people in high school were thinking about me. As a 40-year-old man, right? What are my friends in high school that I haven't talked to in like 20 years going to think of if I do this or this or this? Who cares?
Yeah, you really have to take on that mindset of like, who cares? And, I have so many people that come to me and they're like, wow, I was just talking to so-and-so about you the other day and what you're doing. And it inspired me to do this. And I'm like, really? So I try to hold on to those things and I don't focus on to the bad things. Like, I have family members that they're like, why are you always so angry all the time? And I'm like, I'm the least angry person ever.
Really?
So I've really had to even distance myself and completely change the people that I surround myself with. And, that's like that community, that collaboration, that will really kind of help you, increase your confidence. Like if you have a boyfriend or even a grandma or a dad that tells you all the time, like, what are you doing? Like, go back to a corporate job or you're a piece of crap, whatever it is, you're going to take that on. And so you have to separate yourself from those things.
Let's talk about the business part of it, the magazine, the podcast, right? I'm assuming, and we'll let you talk about it here in just a sec. We can guess as to what it is and the type of articles and content that you put out there. But who's it truly for? I know it's women focused, but why are you doing this? Why now? Who are you trying to reach?
So we've always been focused towards women. We gear all of our marketing towards women and we do all these things. And at the first of this year, actually, we'd still kind of skirt the like everyone's included type of mentality, which everyone is included. Everyone's welcome, But the first of the year, I was like, really like we just empower women, and that's what we're going to do. And so we just really set out to focus just on women, and I am not looking back and I'm not changing my stance on it. But the reason why we do it is because, the playing field isn't equal and we would like it to be equal. And it's not like, the 1920s or 60s or 70s or 80s. And, I feel like the trail's already been like bushwhacked down for women, and it's really just my job to keep it smooth and paved, for my daughter and like the women coming behind us. And, I've had things. Well, I started out online running a different business. So I started out running a social media management business and I was marketing it here locally. And I actually did really well and grew it here locally in St. George. And I just got a lot of crap like, oh, that's cute. You started a hobby for a housewife.
Really?
That's my favorite, hobby for a housewife.
Nice.
And I was like, I've never been a housewife. I've always had a job. I'm like, I have a bachelor's degree even. And that kind of stuff, I was like, oh my gosh.
Who was that coming from? Other women?
No, men.
Men.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it was at that time that I realized, I'm like, gosh, women really still do need a platform and encouragement. And a lot of it is just me standing up like, I'm not a size 2. I'm not a supermodel. I'm just a mom from Utah. I'm like, I'm an army wife. I'm just a normal person. If I can do this, it shows other women that they can do it too. So
what kind of stuff would we see in the magazine? What kind of things would we hear about in the podcast about empowering women? I mean, what's the philosophy behind that?
So our philosophy behind the magazine is we are contributor based. So people submit articles to us and we publish them. Pretty much all of them, unless, it's something like totally off the wall. Yeah. There's always like little few parameters you have to jump through. Like you can't say the F word every other word, but a few well-placed ones, totally fine. But we just wanted to give people a place to showcase their business where there wasn't a gatekeeper, because that's what I was finding in the online world. It was like, oh, if so-and-so, gives you permission or so-and-so talks about you, then you can say you're successful. And I was just kind of like, well, screw this. How can we create a platform where everyone's welcome? So our magazine isn't like really what I would say is feminist. When you think of feminists, like we're not burning bras down with the man or anything like that. We're just giving women a place to come in and showcase like the business that they're building, or, you know, maybe they had some crazy transformational story. You know, it's like, here, we'll give you a space to talk about it and share it with other women.
You know, it's funny. So I was raised by a mother, a single mom, and a grandma, strong, you know, women doing their thing. Now that I have a daughter, I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of give them everything that they need to be able to be successful. But being a man, sometimes I don't think about different things, right? That maybe I'm doing as well. That's kind of maybe not looking at her like I look at my brother or my sons and expect the same type of thing. So I try every day to like obviously think about it and be as equal and try to be as encouraging and all that good stuff. But I'm sure there are days when I miss the mark, right? Where I'm not doing what I need to be doing. How are women today in this society? You mentioned earlier that they're not, you know, it's not this 50s, 60s, and 70s anymore. Are they still struggling to find their voice, to get a job, to be taken seriously nowadays, 2018?
Well, absolutely. Like statistically, you know, especially like we still make significantly less than a man does, especially a white man, you know, so there is still all of this like gender, race, and all of these things that are coming into play, you know, right here in 2018, of course. But, you know, I still miss the mark all the time.
Yeah.
Especially like trying
it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have a daughter, I know, right?
Yes, I have a daughter and I have a son. So
what does that look like at home for you now? You know, because I'm assuming that obviously this is your job. You're trying to empower women, trying to empower people in general. What does that look like in your day-to-day life at home?
Oh, my day-to-day life at home.
Crazy, I'm assuming?
Sometimes it's crazy, but for the most part, it runs pretty smooth. Good. You know, what's been interesting is having my kids out of school all summer this year. Last year, my youngest was still going to Montessori, so we went through the summer. But this year, it's been definitely different. You know, my husband will leave, and I'm like, why don't you try taking the damn kids to work with you, you know? Like that type of thing. But day to day, it's, you know, I just try to do my best, but I'm also really open and honest with my kids. I'm open and honest with them about how much money is coming into the business and, you know, what's really happening. And, you know, we were just in Vegas
That's huge, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we were just in Vegas last weekend and took the kids shopping and just wanted to have, you know, we're close to Vegas. I'm like, yeah, do you guys go down there and hit up the pool, you know? So we go down to Vegas and that, like me and my husband, you know, the kids went to sleep and then we went out and had dinner and we came back. Like I was kind of upset about something my husband had said to me. Like it just, you know, I hate to use this word, but it had triggered me. Because a lot of times women, like we still carry a lot of guilt. And I was feeling guilty about the position that I'd put my family in. Like we've made a lot of risks and my family's made a lot of sacrifices to help build this, you know? And I guess my daughter woke up and just noticed that I was upset, you know? And the next morning she was like, Mom, what were you so upset about last night? And I said, you know, Harley, sometimes I feel really guilty for the choices that I've made. And, you know, even like things like we'll be like, okay, we've got to come up with some liquid capital. How are we going to do it? You know? And sometimes I feel guilty for, you know, changing our life so much and maybe not living like that stereotypical family life. And, you know, sometimes I don't feel like I'm good enough or that I'm not doing it well enough. And she just looked at me and I'm going to cry talking about it. And I don't cry a lot. But she said, Mom, you're doing so many amazing things. Why would you say that? She was like, what you do is so amazing. Sure. And I'm like, what? You know, and that's coming from a teenager. So,
which is double, right?
Yeah.
Double points.
But I think even just being honest to that point of like, hey, sometimes it's hard. Hey, sometimes rough things happen. You know, my kids don't feel like they're living in a fairy tale bubble.
Sure. And, you know, they can see right through us sometimes too, especially the older they get, right? You have teenagers now, like you mentioned. They know something's up. And so the fact that you're honest with them, it's only going to empower them. It's only going to help them and see that you're human. And who cares about living? What does that even look like? The fairy tale life, right? How do people describe it now, right? The man working and the wife at home, like, what is that? Who cares at this point? But we tried to do this interview yesterday, right? You came into the studio and we had technical issues. We couldn't run the program, but your daughter came in with you. That's awesome that she came in to see you being interviewed on a show, talking about you and the things that you do for other women. That's going to leave a lasting impression on her.
Yeah, and I made a point to bring her with me because I could have gone home and dropped her off. And I was like, there's no reason why she can't come and sit here and just see what's going on.
That's fantastic. Yeah, my kids are younger than yours, and I still try to take them out to as many events that we host and interviews and all that stuff that we can, just because they're curious as to what I do, and they see me in action, and we have great conversations about it. And so seeing your parents in action is huge, I think. Can leave a lasting impression. Now let's talk about, you brought up the word feminism. Right, let's talk about it. I think we both, I don't know how you feel about it, but there was a little bit of a cringe, maybe not cringe, but there was a little bit of a pause when you mentioned feminism. How do you feel about it? What does that look like to you? Good, bad, somewhere in the middle?
I'm glad you brought that up because I even hate to bring the word up, feminism, because it's just, it reminds me, I'm not going to put on the pussy hat in March. Like, I just that's not who I am. And that's not what being feminine is to me. And so for me, it's all about, it's not like screw Donald Trump. It's not like, oh, men, they're terrible. Like women need to be in power. To me, it's about all of us looking at our situations equally, and it doesn't matter if we're a woman or a man. And so I do feel like it is my job and my passion here on earth to light other women up, that they can step up and be like, hey, I can do that too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that like I might have something going against me. Like being a woman is really cool. Like we have a very organized mind. We're able to multitask and we're able to do all the things that we're able to do. And so I look at it as like not a burden, but a blessing. And so that's why I kind of hesitate to talk about feminism sometimes, because it's not, I'm not going to stand up on a pedestal and be like women are better than men at all, because I don't feel that way.
Yeah, I think as men, I think sometimes we don't even know where to start, right? I mean, obviously we have our own ideas of maybe right and wrong or the way things should be. And again, where's the line? Who's perfect? Who knows, right? But we all have our different ideas. As long as we're trying to progress as a group, even better, right? Women aren't better than men aren't better than women type of a deal. Hopefully there's equality, if not now, hopefully soon, in everything, in jobs and in opportunities. But yeah, I think as a man, I want what's best for my wife, my kids, my daughter, my sisters. But I don't usually get in those type of conversations because I don't want to be labeled something anti-feminist or anything else, right? Even though I'm trying to, but sometimes it's too far. I think when the bra burning or the man hating, I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff, right? But again, I want my daughters and my wife to be
but at the
best they can be.
Same point, you can't just ignore it either.
So that's right. So where's the line? What do we do?
That's a great question.
Opinion,
because
as a man, some of my best employees, my best business partners have been women, and I don't know that I treat them differently, right? I treat them as like myself, anybody else, but yet I'm still gun shy. Talk about having those type of conversations. So what can we do?
I think the type of conversations that need to be had is like, asking your female employees, like, do you feel like, this is an inclusive work environment, and being open to it instead of looking the other way, because we tend to do that. Like it's probably not appropriate for me to talk about people of color because I'm very, very like white, and so I don't know what it feels like. But at the same time, it's not okay for me to turn my back on the situations that are happening.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But obviously having honest conversations is the way to do it. And I think that there are a lot of good people having those type of conversations, a lot of good people that don't necessarily agree that are still civil to each other and having those type of conversations. And I hope that continues. Like, I think that's just going to help everybody around them. Now let's shift gears here a little bit. You have an interesting entrepreneurial journey, right? I mean, the woman that walked in here today, right, confident, all that stuff that we talked about, wasn't necessarily the case several years ago, right? I mean, you had some low points. Do you mind going into that with us for a little bit? The very beginning, right? You decided to do some on your own. Things weren't going right. I mean, it got so bad that.
Oh, sure. So, one thing that I talk about a lot is the fact that I did get married when I was 19. Which didn't work out. That was terrible. I got suckered into a very, I don't know if suckered's the right word for it, but I went in willing, of course, but it turned out to be a very like mentally, physically abusive relationship. And, I had my daughter out of that, which was amazing. But it took me a long time to forgive myself because I felt like I'd made so many mistakes. Like I dropped out of college. I was a great student too. Like, when your parents are like, oh, she's going to like be a doctor and all these things. And when my senior year in high school, I went to the college. So like I was really, I had myself set up, and I had this 5-year plan for myself. And then I don't know what happened.
And then life happened.
Well, yeah, it was seeking love because I didn't love myself. And so I was always looking for it in other places, if that was through like alcohol or sex or whatever it was, like I was always looking for it somewhere else. And so, yeah, I got married. I had my daughter and that relationship didn't work out. And so I ended up just on my own with my daughter for a couple of years. And that was really rough to be, that young.
Sure.
And I remember I think I made $9, $10 an hour. Eventually I worked myself up to 12 or 13, but I used to work home health and hospice, and I would float in the hospital too as well. So I was doing hard manual labor.
Yeah, I bet.
And I just remember there was times where I was like, okay, I've got this bag of pancake mix. That stuck with me forever, the bag of pancake mix. And I was like, okay, she'll eat at daycare. I won't eat lunch, and we'll just have pancakes, all week. A baby, they don't care. They're it's on their
they're like pancakes for dinner. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was pretty much a real struggle to get out of that cycle, because when you're in it, you can't see a way out because you're just trying to pay to keep your lights on. I remember we had our heating shut off once, and you're just trying to figure out how to keep the basics living. So that was it took a long time to get out of that. But eventually I did meet my husband. We've been together for a long time now. And, we kind of started doing it together, which helped a lot. And
so what was that mindset? I mean, was it the now that you found somebody that can help you mentally kind of get out of that rut, or whatever you want to call it? Or was there a moment that kind of you woke up and you were like, what's going on here? I need to.
No, I don't think there was ever a moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think my husband is one of the most incredible people. And sometimes I don't give him enough credit, because I wouldn't have stayed with someone like me, and now I look at people like that and I'm like, ooh, that's a red flag, So I'm so grateful that we've been able to have the relationship that we've had. Even though I was kind of a shit show, for lack of better words.
A lot of us were, right? I mean, depending on where we are in our lives. And I think life is, we go up and we go down sometimes. And, I think we are both sitting here, somewhat successful, doing our own thing, working on projects that we like. There's going to be moments when we're down again, I think, right? Because life is long and difficult sometimes. But so you came out of that a little bit, but there were some suicidal thoughts there as well for a time.
I did. So we had moved down here to St. George, and I found a local job here, and I was working, and I just remember it was there was no growth there. So again, I just felt like I was stuck in that same cycle. And that's been something interesting about me, is when I get stuck in these cycles, I start to get really depressed, because I think I've just always had, call it spirituality, your soul. I've always had this knowing that I was meant to do something more, and I could do more in this world than what I was doing. So I got trapped in this cycle of you can only make this much. You're never going to go anywhere. And I was like, no, I have so much potential. But I'd become so miserable that I was I remember I would drive on the freeway, this little tiny stretch of freeway, one exit. Yeah. And I'd be like, it'd be really great if I got hit by a semi today. I'm paralyzed, whatever. I just don't even want to live this life anymore. And so I'd gotten really bad. And one morning, I told you about this yesterday. One morning I woke up and we have a beam in our bedroom, and I remember looking up at it and I was like, I could hang myself on that today. And it was this light bulb went off inside my head, and I was looking up numbers, can you walk into the ER?
Really?
I needed help.
Yeah. That's scary.
It is scary. I've had several family members that have committed suicide, close family members. And I was like, no, this isn't, no, we're not doing that. You've got kids, and we're not putting them through what you've seen happen. And so it just this light bulb went off. I went in and quit my job. I gave them I think it was a 6-week notice. Really? And I worked all 6 weeks, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew something had to change.
How old were you at this point?
30.
Oh, recent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so in 3 years, 4 years, right?
3 years. Yeah.
It's a completely different, you're a completely different woman. It sounds like, it feels like.
I'm a completely different person.
From that, which I'm assuming is the lowest, if not one of the lowest moments in your life, to again now, this beautiful, wonderful, strong woman in a short amount of time. Tell me about it. How did you get from there? I know your husband helped, but there must have been other things that you were doing for yourself as well that got you to this.
Yeah, other people can't save you. And if you're always looking to be saved, you're never going to be saved. You have to save yourself. And that's what it was. And every day, I'm just always okay, I'm doing this for me. I build Badassery, and I do this for me. A lot of people are I do it for my kids, I do it for the community. Yeah. But I'm no, I do this for me, because when I'm happy, healthy, and at this whole different level, I feel like I vibrate on a different plane than I used to. That affects everybody around me. So I've changed my life. My family has a better life, even though I might at times think that I've ruined their lives. I haven't, But I had to start doing things for me. And I just, immerse yourself. You'll hear big coaches and, big mind, spiritual people and all that. They talk about immersing themselves in, change. And that's exactly what I've done. I immerse myself in the people I hang out with. I go to things like Tony Robbins, UPW. I will immerse myself in books. I always have a book. Right now I've got Think and Grow Rich, like running through my Audible at the gym, you know? And like, I'm just completely immerse myself in everything. Anything Gary Vaynerchuk puts out, I'll make sure I've watching it, you know, like you come over to our house, like I'm pumping like live streams through the Alexa, you know, that I've like trying to catch up on podcasts. I just completely immerse myself. I read as many books as I can. I journal a lot. I take a lot of time for myself.
And so, you know, it's one of those things where, because you've been there, I'm assuming that you can relate to and help a lot of other entrepreneurs, specifically women that are in that mindset now that you were 3 years ago or so, right? Have you seen that in the platform that you're building, in this community that you're building now?
Oh, absolutely. We work with women all the time that it's just so amazing to watch them change their perspective. And even, you know, we'll be on a call and, we'll have a woman that's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And you can do it because, you know, you're Samantha Parker. And I'm like, no, actually this morning I was like at the gym and I was like, oh my gosh, when did you like look at your arms, you know? And I'm like, wait, Sam, we're not going there, you know? So I'm like, every day I still have the same struggles that everybody else has.
But you're pushing forward. You've seen the light for the most part, and now you're trying to help other people.
Yes.
Which is huge, right? I mean, I think depending on the circles you run in, wealthy people of influence are almost seen as bad people, right? But you can't help others if you don't have the means, whether it's money, whether it's confidence, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. You have to have it yourself in abundance, I'm assuming, in order to be able to kind of help lift somebody else out. Right? And again, not just money, not just those type of things, but you need to have it yourself. And so being able to work on yourself, and I think that a lot of we've had 400 plus episodes on our show. We talked to a lot of different people. We've heard a lot of these guys that are kind of like you, working themselves up and becoming stronger, bigger, better, that their family, especially their family, sometimes their friends, look at them and say, you're being too selfish. You're spending too much time on yourself. Why are you looking to better your, other stuff? But you need to. Your foundation needs to be strong in order for you to be able to help somebody else.
Exactly. Those type of people don't belong in your life.
Yeah. So what do? I'm assuming everybody has those type of family members, friends. It's tough to shut them out.
They do.
How do you do it?
Well, you don't have to shut them out. Like, it's not like you pick up the phone and you're like, go to hell. Don't ever call me again, you know?
But it's hard to be around it on a regular basis and still function the way you want to function.
Exactly. So I just distance myself from those people and they fall away. You know, your vibration will literally attract the type of people to you that you're looking for. And all of a sudden you'll start meeting all these incredible, amazing people. It's true. It works. It's not woo-woo. You know, it's the way it works. And so if you start distancing yourself, you know, that's all I've done is, hey, do you guys want to come over and do this? Oh, sorry, we can't. You know, eventually they stop asking. And
then you just keep moving. And right, what's the saying? You are the sum of the 4 or 5 people that you surround yourself, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that. That's the case, right? And so finding those individuals that are going to help you and be positive in your life is huge.
But what I've noticed is it started as 1 or 2 people, 3 or 4, and now I'm like 40, 50, 100, you know.
And you're right in the middle of that, absolutely. I mean, you're the ringleader. You're looking for these people. They're attracted to you, and now because of the podcast and the magazine and these events that you're putting together, you're a light, and they're coming to you. What does that pressure feel like? I mean, because you've been there, they're looking for some help. Now you're the one that's offering the help. What does that look like?
So I have an amazing business partner too that kind of like helps bring all this together, you know. So that helps a lot too. But the thing when you talk about pressure, one of the things that I've really like adapted is that I don't have to stay the center of light. So a little. Like last year, we found out my husband was going to deploy again, and he's supposed to leave at the end of this month. And just like 2 weeks ago, they took their unit off ramp, and so they're not going. Oh, right. And like last month, I was a hot mess. And even like I just kept having all these breakdowns, and like, you know, being in the Army and stuff, he was gone for like, you know, he's gone for a couple months. And he's been in for a long time. So he's high ranking, has to go to all this stuff all the time, you know? And I was
that can be tough on a family, for sure.
It can. And I was just having all these breakdowns. I was like, I don't want to do this again. I had my son when he was in Afghanistan, and it was almost like PTSD for me personally, you know? I was like, I cannot do this again. I will not do this again. And so what I did is I just openly documented it, and I openly shared. Like, if you follow me on Facebook, you can read crazy stuff about me. You know, it's not crazy, it's just my real life. Sure. And that's the thing, is if people can see that you're a real human and that they're like, oh my gosh, like I have these feelings sometimes, and sometimes I don't like what's going on in my life. You know, you don't have to be this like, everything's happy, everything's perfect all the time.
Yeah. One of the things that I think your business and my business, that they're somewhat similar. We're trying to build these platforms to help as many people as we can. I'm focusing on entrepreneurship, podcasters, those type of things. But I don't like, for the most part, being the center of attention. And I think sometimes you have to be. And sometimes I am when I need to. I like to be behind the scenes kind of putting these things together, and I like to put other people to be the center of attention so that it could work properly, right? It's difficult to be on all the time. So if it seems like you can pick your battles or pick when you're on and when you're kind of, behind the scenes type of a deal, especially with a business partner, that works perfectly. For somebody who's a solopreneur that's trying to do this, any recommendations?
Solopreneurship doesn't work, period.
It doesn't work.
No, and I think solopreneur is a dirty word.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you use it in any of your marketing.
No, tell me
or
about
anything.
it. No, we don't.
I hate the word so much. It's like ridiculous because, okay, think about this. Solopreneurship. Has anyone ever come to you and you've helped them like just work through a business problem, but they're running their own business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're no longer a solopreneur. They just relied on someone else, right?
Yeah,
Have you ever called up your mom and been
That's
like,
good.
What's going on? Nobody is a solopreneur ever, 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 ever.
So like the self-made man. There's no self-made millionaire. There's no
No, because that self-made millionaire had 4 or 5 people doing X, Y, Z.
That makes sense.
Someone built his website. Like solopreneurship is stupid, and I wish that people would stop promoting it because then you get this.
Well, they wear it like a
thing
badge of
in your
honor.
head that like you have to do everything, and I should be able to do this all by myself.
Yeah, one of the things that we preach all the time in our shows and then the things that we do is outsource, right? Do what you do best. What's your niche? What are you the best at? Go do that. Everything else, whether it's website, accounting, whatever, outsource it. You're going to be more successful by doing the one thing that you do best, right, than anything else. So I'll ask you that question. What are you the best at? What do you do that is the thing that gets your business to that next level?
So I'm really good at like showing up and facilitating things, and my business partner and I go through this a lot. Like, what are you really good at right now? What's working really well? And it's like, you just need to be doing that. And she just needs to be doing what she's really good at, And so for me, I just need to show up. If that's a live video, if that's sharing on Facebook, for me, it's really showing up. And when I get sucked into these admin tasks, and I still do a lot of admin tasks, we do still bootstrapping a lot, But when I get sucked into this, like I have to get all this stuff done, my creativity cuts off and my flow cuts off, and I get depressed, like literally depressed. Like depression shouldn't be a scary word. It should be a signal. You're not doing something that aligns with, I'll say your soul purpose or your mission or whatever it is that you want to be doing. You've fallen off somewhere.
And sometimes we have to do it, right? But hopefully long term, we figure out a way to not do that as much, especially when you're running the company. So how does it work with your partner? As far as tasks, as far as the responsibilities, do you guys work well with each other? How does that work?
Yes. And as our lawyer always says, he's like, you guys are so lucky. Like, he's like, I don't ever recommend business partnerships to anyone.
Really?
And like, we just have this great relationship and we're both able to easily work through things. We've actually never had, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, we've never had like some big like disagreement or anything. We're just both like, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's tweak that and run, because both of us see this as it's not about us.
Sure.
It's about what we're doing, and that matters too much to us. And so I just think having a business partner, you need to like give some control over, you can't be like monitoring everything they're doing. And so, but having a business partner is pretty awesome. Like when I had the flu, it was awesome. When I was having a breakdown about, my husband going back to Afghanistan, it was pretty awesome. She just stepped up and took meetings. And then she was having a hard time a little while ago. And I was like, I got this, And even today, it turned out her son had to like go to an emergency dentist appointment. And so I did a couple interviews this morning by myself. And it was like, no big deal. We got this.
Good. You have somebody that's there to help when you need it. Yeah. I built my business. My background's in logistics. I built a freight management company by myself, sold it, all that stuff, right? So I didn't have to answer to anybody. When we started Outlier, I had a couple of business partners, and it was new to me and didn't know how to quite navigate that dynamic of having business partners and running ideas through other people. And it was difficult. And I think we wasted 2 years of Outlier just because I think there were too many cooks in the kitchen. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do what we needed to do just because, I don't know, too many people saying what needed to be done and nobody really stepping up and doing it. But now, right, it's a whole lot better. We're moving, we're shaking, we're doing a lot of great things. And I know that you are continuing to expand this platform, this network that you're building, this community. You're focusing on events as well. Let's talk about this new event coming up in October.
Okay, so we're going to do a event here in St. George, and we're going to, what I really want to do, like we're still working out all the kinks and stuff, so I wish I could be like, this is what it is, this is the time, the date, go here, bye, But what we're hoping to do is really highlight women in business and what they're doing specifically here in Southern Utah, because this is its own little bubble,
For sure.
Especially where it's like kind of has that good old boys feel still going on, type of mentality. And so I think it'd be really great for some of the women to see what's going on, because I meet women all the time. They're like, hey, I follow Badassery Magazine. I had no idea you lived here.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, totally. I'm just hanging out in my office 24/7. Come hang out, So we're really trying to bring women together, but not just women, men and just different businesses in the community, and really showcase what's going on, and then inspire and empower and all of that good stuff too. And
so this event won't be just for women. I mean, it's going to be for open.
No,
everybody.
it'll definitely be geared towards women, and empowering women and telling our stories. And but mostly what we want to do is we want to have fun. Because I go to conferences and I'm bored out of my mind sometimes, and I'm like, oh. So we're really taking some aspects into it of how people can connect through having fun in an environment that's still like a conference. Because one of our future goals, this is proprietary information that I'm sharing here.
That's right.
Just kidding. We want to have a conference, and we're going to call it GlitterCon. But
I like that.
Yeah, it is going to be a female entrepreneur geared conference, but we want to make it just extremely fun.
I love that. So you're not stopping anytime soon. It seems like you're always adding new things. You're kind of bringing new ways to help people around you.
Yes.
The females in your network.
Well, just even men too. Like if you can go and connect somewhere that, there's networking here, and I did B&I and I did all of those traditional things. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't for me. That's not the type of businesses we're looking for. And if people can realize that they can still have fun and run a business, and like they can connect with these people and they can grow these relationships and collaborations. The big thing is collaborations. You get people together, they can help each other. It doesn't hurt anyone's business. Everyone grows. And if they can do it where they're having fun, I think that's kind of a whole new dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that we've always said, putting on events it's a lot of hard work, and it's not always fun, right? Putting all the details together. But I think once we do it and we see people that we fly in from other parts of the country mingling with our homegrown talent here, and just seeing that magic happen face to face, it's all worth it, right? I mean, they connect. A lot of times people start companies or projects together that they didn't know each other outside of our event. And, right, we don't get a cut. We don't have to have the glory and the honor. But it's fantastic. It's a great feeling. And it looks like you're going that route as well, because you see the vision of the magic that happens when people meet face to face.
Absolutely.
Young, ambitious, right?
I met my business partner at a conference.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
See, it's perfect. Now, as we start to kind of wrap up here a little bit, what's the next 3 years going to look like for you?
I have no idea.
It's a good that's a perfectly good answer.
And I know everyone's like, you should have this master plan.
No way.
And I'm like, what? Because my thing is if we start doing something and we're like, oh my gosh, this is miserable and it sucks, we cut it.
Yeah.
Because we were action takers. I'm like, okay, is this good? Does it have, we look at the P&L on it, and should we run with it? You know what I mean? Then we just hit the ground running. Like we can flip things in a day sometimes. But it's like if this doesn't feel good, or we realize that, that what we've done isn't working, we're really good at just being like pulling the plug. And a lot of people will be like, well, if you did your research. And I'm like, yeah, but if we never get started, like, how long is it going to take for us to go?
Sure. For sure. Right. We've known too many entrepreneurs, too many startups that they're working, they're perfecting whatever they're putting out, and then they never go anywhere. Or once they finally release the software or whatever they're doing, it's too late. Right. I like, and I think we can kind of get some slack over this. We fire first before we aim. I'm all right with that. Mm-hmm. I'm all in. And if it doesn't work, what's that?
I'm a cliff jumper.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single time. And if it doesn't work, then we kind of tweak it. We change it a little bit. But I don't want to sit around too long waiting for it to be perfect, because I think we miss opportunities there.
Or you might find out that you absolutely hate it.
Exactly.
Whatever you've built, you're like, I thought this would be amazing. And I don't, like, maybe you're building microphones and you're like, I hate everything to do with microphones.
And now you're 2-3 years and a bunch of money into it. And then
you might as well go back to a corporate 9-to-5 job.
One of the things that I have a business partner on a separate project that we're working on. We're working on a networking app. And I know that's kind of...
I have the app.
Oh, yeah?
I'm on the app. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Our app?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Yeah, you are. And so we haven't quite got it yet, right? And so we've spent a few months. Luckily, we've spent some money, but not a ton of money. It's not there yet. The magic isn't there yet. The what we want it to be, it's not ready. And so we're kind of going back to the drawing board, right? We're going to tweak it a little bit more. We've heard good feedback from the people that are using it. And so now it's not going to be what it is now, and we're going to go back and do it. And I'm okay with it. Other people are like, well, that was a miss or that was a mistake. And I don't see it that way, right? We put it in people's hands. They gave us feedback, and now we're going to go give them what they want. I'm okay with that every single time. And it feels like you're in that mindset as well.
Absolutely. We pull the plug on things all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we have the Badassery Academy, and we're like, this is going to be our signature program. We've ran it like 4 times. And I'm like, I just don't, this isn't our vision anymore. And my business partner's like, oh my God, so glad you said that.
And so you pulled it.
Yeah, we're not going to run it again.
Perfect. Now, let's end on this. There are people that are listening from all over the U.S. We're big in Australia, Germany for some reason. I don't know why Germany, but all over the U.K. Somebody's listening. Somebody is stuck. Somebody wants to do a little bit more. They don't know how. What kind of advice do you have for them?
If you don't know how, if it's like a technical, I don't know how, YouTube University.
Easy.
Like, figure it out. Stay up late one night. I can't even tell you how many nights I've just stayed out and been like, I'm going to get this and I'm going to get it, because you can figure out how. So if it's I don't know how, then figure it out, because you have so much information at your fingertips. And, maybe it's something you can't find online. Someone else knows how to do it, and then you put your own tweak on it, right? So if it's like a technical, I don't know how, that's kind of BS. You don't need another master's degree. You don't need a PhD, all of that. But if it's like, I don't know how, as in like, you can't get past yourself, you really need to like buy a mindset course online, get some books, and start like tapping into your own power. Because one thing, how they always say like knowledge is stored power, but that's it. It's just, who cares? You have to go out and you have to take action. And if that's putting out your MVP, your minimal viable product, or if that's like, who knows, like just baby steps, start the Instagram. That's what I always tell people. They're like, oh, I have this name. And I'm like, start the freaking Instagram.
For sure. You can learn so much from it. Absolutely. That's good advice. Right. And for those that are listening, they want to connect with Samantha, where can we find you online?
So if you go to badasserymag.com, like, you find us in all the places. We always tell people, come in and jump in our Facebook group, listen to the podcast there. You can submit to be a contributor to the mag or the blog. You can find out where our next local event is. Like, immediately, end of August, we'll be in LA. All of the magical things are badasserymag.com. All of our social media handles are badasserymag.com.
Nice and easy to find. So Outliers, you can go to outlierhq.com. That's outlierhq.com. First of all, subscribe to our podcast, rate, review it, share it with your friends. But there you're going to find Samantha's website, links to the podcast, social media accounts. Connect with her. She's the real deal. She's a homegrown talent here in St. George that we're excited to have here in the city with us. Again, Samantha, this has been fun. We really appreciate taking the time to talk to us, your words of wisdom, for letting us kind of peek into your life and the good, the bad, and the ugly of your entrepreneurial journey. And this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Outliers, we'll talk to you tomorrow.